everyone. Thank you so much for joining Christy and I today. Let me put the chat up so Christy can see it. There you go. Hello, hello. I see some people popping on there.
Yay.
Thank you for being here. So Christy and I, if you have questions, please put them in the comments. We are here to, I know that people think that psychic mediumship is some kind of airy fairy thing that only certain people can do. It's really methodical. There is a method to it. There is a madness to what we do. It's my opinion that anyone can do it. It just takes learning to read the language of spirit. And I always say that, like anyone can get on the court and dribble a basketball. There are Michael Jordans of it, and there are people just playing on the court. And typically the difference is people that have practiced.
Yes.
That is usually it. Not one of our questions, but Christy, haven't you done quite a few readings in your time?
Yeah. About 12 years worth of readings. Yeah.
That's why I say when you've done something thousands of times, you're going to be pretty good at it. Right? But people say, well, how did you get so, you do something thousands of times and, you're going to get a little bit good at it. Yeah. Hello, Miss Sissy, who just joined her. It says Elizabeth Christensen, but I know that her nickname is Sissy. Thank you for joining us. Now, we're going to start out today with a question that I talk to people a lot about, even in my normal readings or when I'm training someone. Like, what is your ego? You want to kick us off with that, Christy?
Yeah. Because people, when you hear the word ego, a lot of people automatically think it means conceited, big-headed. And what I have studied and learned is that ego, you have to have an ego to survive as a human being. And it's how we break off from God's source creator. And so we take on an ego, and it's what makes me different from this Christy, and her different from her husband, and me different from my brother. It's so we can have these separate experiences. Now, an unhealthy ego is something else. And that's where you get into the eccentricities and the conceit and the arrogance and things like that. But an ego is a must-have in order to be human.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way. Whenever I'm teaching or talking to people about the ego, I say, if you go to a psychic medium and they say, oh, I don't have an ego, run in the other direction. We all have an ego. The trick to reading is to have an awareness of when you're in your ego. Mm-hmm. And you can feel the switch in the energies. You can, and usually I will have an awareness around it and I'll sit, and there's, and different people have different ways of making sure they're not reading from their ego. And for me, I understand how spirit feels. And it's making sure that you're always working to be in service of spirit. Also, for me, I know if I want to say something that is not for my client's greater good, that's ego. If it's judgmental, that's ego. Yeah. Spirit is only here to be of service to the client that we are reading, to lift them up, to give them advice. It's never judgmental.
Right.
So if you're about to say something judgmental, that is total ego.
We all know people that have to have the final word, and they are right about everything, and their opinion is the right way. It's like that is completely stuck in an unhealthy ego.
Absolutely. I was just talking to some people about, talking about reading. And sometimes as a psychic medium, information will come through from spirit that the client might not just be in a space that they want to own it yet. Mm-hmm. Our job is to deliver the message and leave it there and back off.
Yes.
Well, I have seen those psychic mediums who they want to pound it into their client to make sure their client is owning it and taking it. That's ego. That's what Christy was just saying. That is an unhealthy ego. Our job is to just gently and kindly and lovingly deliver the messages and move on. It's not our business.
Sometimes in a reading, I will say, this is from spirit. I said, now we're going to step aside, and this is coming from my personal experience.
Yes.
And I will be very, very clear about what's coming from me and what's coming from spirit.
I will do this exact same thing. If I just feel the need to give, say, well, again, I will say, Christy and I have been on this planet for a few turns. And so we've learned a few things just from being on planet for a little while.
Yeah.
And I will say, this is just Christy talking. This Christy, not that Christy. I don't speak for that Christy. All right. So, I love this next question that we're going to discuss. It is one that I was just talking to someone about earlier today. And I don't know why some people think because we're psychic mediums. Hi, Jen. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Is how does God, people think because we are psychic mediums that we don't believe in God or Jesus or angels. And I probably believe in those things more so now than I did before because I have such a close relationship with them through meditations and bringing through those energies. So, Christy, how do you think God fits into this space, into this work that we do?
And I get the question a lot, and I have some acquaintances that are very, I hate to use the word stuck, but they're very much into their religion. And, well, what you're doing is the devil's work. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm not offended by that at all. It's just, they believe what they believe, and that's fine if that's what they think. I know it's not true because I couldn't do my work without God. And God is everything. Everything that you touch, see, feel, experience,
Yes.
everything goes back to God. And we can say we can tune into God directly, but it's like, I always say, like a corporation, we've got the CEO, we've got the technical officer, we've got the human resource, everybody's got a job title. And so when I go to spirit, I'll go to their spirit guides. I will go to God directly. I will go to Jesus, depending on who wants to present themselves with a particular skill set. Like Archangel Michael is considered the right hand of God. So I go to Archangel Michael a lot. And I used to fight that all the time. It's like, why not just go to the big guy? Why do you have to go to these other people? Well, you can. Absolutely, you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do a lot of times. But there are other people, other entities, other spirits that I will bring through that I know will resonate with my client in the highest way.
Absolutely. I feel 100% the same way. I I taught Bible studies. I ran children's programs in churches for many years. I have I think it's funny. As some of you know, I have been battling some health concerns, and someone met, well, not just one person, but this one person in particular. Trust me, I've gotten a lot of them. So, Christy, I know you've tried that psychic medium stuff. How about try Jesus? I'm sorry. I have more Bible study, like on my living room, I have a whole bookshelf of their Bible studies. I understand it. And since changing the way I access God and the divine, according to what your word with it is for that, I understand it in a bigger capacity. I think sometimes when you become dogmatic with the Bible, it was my experience that it almost limits our understanding of who God is and who the divine is. Spirituality has actually expanded my understanding of the power of us, of us as spiritual beings, of our ability to connect to the higher power. I am much more comfortable now sitting, like Christy was just talking about, sitting in meditation or even reading someone and bringing through an angel for them or bringing through a message that is directly from the divine. Then I never would have thought I could do that when I was just, quote, religious and reading the Bible. So to me, the greatest gift spirituality and psychic mediumship has done for me is just expanded my vision of who God is.
I went in a little bit opposite direction that you did, Christy, because my religious upbringing, and it was Sunday school, it was Bible school, it was, church every single Sunday, and none of it made sense to me. And I would ask people questions. Well, you just have to have faith in God. You have to, no, I want answers. So at my high school graduation party, I announced in front of my parents, family, friends that I was an atheist.
I'm sure that went over well. Weren't you from like the Midwest, like a
Sioux Falls, South Dakota,
yeah, a
Lutheran
church-going
family.
family? Yeah,
Yeah. And it was only because I didn't know the word agnostic that I was questioning things.
yeah,
And so atheist was the word I chose to use. And that never felt right for me either. And it was only when I really started studying spirituality and that God wasn't an old man in a throne, you're going to hell and you're going to hell kind of a thing,
right.
that it started to really give me peace and make sense to my soul.
Yes,
And yeah, and so, I had this strong belief in God and other spirits and the power that we have as human beings long before I went public as a psychic medium. But
yeah,
it just took a different path to get there.
absolutely. Real quick, I wanna thank everyone who is joining us, and if you'll have any questions, please put them in the comments. We're gonna answer those. I have a quick story. You're gonna, laugh at this, I'm sure. I didn't grow up in a church. I came into church later, like in my, 20s, and we were going to a church out in California when we were stationed out there, and about that time in California, they were allowing gay marriages, right? I couldn't understand why the ladies, and at this point, I wasn't leading a Bible study. I was just in one. I couldn't understand why these ladies were so upset. So I'm questioning. Like I don't really under at this point I go into this and I came into religion later, so I did have a lot of questions. And like Christy, a lot of them weren't answered. They didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand how we could have an all-loving God, but then we're supposed to be afraid of him. Like things like that just didn't make sense to me. And again, I didn't understand why we cared who got married. I couldn't understand as a Christian why I cared about that. So I'm questioning. So I can never forget this lady. I'm sure she's like wanting to kick me out because she said, "Well, it's going to ruin the sanctity of marriage." What? Yes, and she's talking about it was going to ruin marriage. I was like, you know what? My husband may divorce me because I can be a little bitchy and moody sometimes, but he's not going to divorce me because now he's allowed to go marry a man. Like, it's not going I don't understand why you think that being married, that gay people can get married. Now that's all of a sudden are gonna turn people gay? What? So, yes, lots of aspects of marriage of, religion just did not make sense to me, and that was one of them. And so I always also encourage people now if they're still because there is a time where you're kind of deconstructing what you've been taught.
Mhm.
And part of what people have been taught is what we do is not okay, right?
Yes.
I say use your discernment.
Mhm.
Sit with what is loving to you. Because to me, love is never wrong. I again had told people that, I don't that's the reason Jesus doesn't give me that book. Because I promise you, I've gone to heaven and brought through people that have passed. And if I had been given that book, if Jesus had me at the pearly gates with this book, I'd be like, Jesus, you made a mistake. I don't know about this person getting in here. None of us have this book. Thank you, Michelle, for being here, and namaste. All right. If y'all have any questions, please put them in the comments. I love answering y'all's questions because then they're on the fly. Put us up to the test. Now, the next question is one that we've covered a little bit, kind of sideways as we were talking about God. But, Christy, what do you think it really means when people say we are all one?
I think human beings tend to think small. And
Yeah.
so when we're all one, they're thinking all human beings are one. And that's simply not true. If everything comes from God's source creator, that means your cat, your dog, your plant, your tree in your backyard, the rock next to your tree, that all comes from God's source creator. And we can expand that even further. It's our whole planet, our whole universe, our galaxy, other extraterrestrials, other planets, other galaxies. That all comes from source. And when you can realize it expands your mind to how big all of this is, instead of, well, I can't be mean to my brother because we're all one. That's true, but there's so much more to it than that. And I think it's to expand the way you think. And it kind of ties into the question before that, is when one thing is better than another, one true religion, one true marriage, one true this. And it's like, that's simply not true.
That is true.
Not true. So when we are all one, it means everything. You can touch, see, feel, even have a concept of, even things you don't have a concept of, still all comes from one source.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's my personal opinion that we are all here walking this planet. Everything is here as an expression of source.
Yes.
And I also think that we are here as an expression to express love.
Mhm.
Like we and so we all do that differently. Even if we have our beliefs are exactly the same because we have different days.
Mhm.
So I look at it as, so Christy and I, the more I go live with her, the more I realize that we are very much in tune to pretty much the same belief system. I don't think we've really ever said anything that the other person didn't agree with.
I can't.
But Christy and I are going to express divine love differently in our day because we have different experiences. We see different clients. She takes a different route to work. So at every opportunity, we have the ability to be a channel for divine love. And that's really our goal, my opinion, is to express it because everything is a manifestation of divine love. Now, I know people say, well, what about all the nastiness going on planet? That's free will and choice. Don't you love that when people come to you and they just want you to change their partner? Or they want you to tell you, can you just tell me how to make such and such do this? No, it's free will. And okay, I'm about to, and if someone's free will is to be a jerk, that's their free will. We cannot snuff out someone's free will. But I think that if we are representative, if we are divine or God, if we are a manifestation of Him, He is love.
Mhm.
So to truly vibrate in that, that's our job, is to channel love. And do I fail every day? Of course. Because I am having a human experience down here, and sometimes it's kind of annoying.
It is.
But I think we're all a manifest. Like I was going on a hike with my kids, one of my kids the other day. I was like, oh, can you hear that tree? No, Mama, I can't. You're not listening hard enough. Go put your ear up to it. And I will encourage people to, get in tune with their trees, the animals. Everything has something to say.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Christy, I haven't ever asked. Now, this is not on the list. Christy is like, what? Are you going off script? I am. Have you ever tapped into someone? And so now there's different ways when you read people. Sometimes if you're just doing a mediumship, you don't tap into the energy I'm about to ask Christy about. But have you ever tapped into someone and read them and not seen them living on another planet at some point?
It happens more often than you'd think, because I believe that we are all seeded from someplace else, and we're taking on different human forms. I mean, look around you, how different we all look, how different we all can act. And it is seeded from other species on other planets. Absolutely. And because people will say, you're going to think I'm crazy, but, and I'm like, oh, sit down, honey. We got so much to talk about because you want crazy. There's a big bag of it here. But I say, you're having a family reunion. When you sleep, your body's at rest. You're out. Your soul is out having, I call it a family reunion. And that's meeting with your extraterrestrial relatives. And extraterrestrial people automatically think alien. No, it just means not of this earth. That's all extraterrestrial means. And we all have got a connection there. Whether you are aware of it or not doesn't mean it's not real. And so frequently, and a lot of people are ready to hear it. If I feel like there's a question in it, I'll just ask them, how far can I go with you? And most people, if I see them sit up straighter, it's like, okay, I know I can't. Other
Right.
people, it's like, bring it on, take it as far as you want to. I'm like, okay. And then we go into where they were seated from and how all of that happened. So yeah, how about you? Do you have
All the time. Yeah, I've never tapped into that level with someone and not seen where they came from, and it wasn't Earth.
yeah.
And, so when people say to me, "You're gonna think I'm crazy," I always say, "You're gonna have to," well, after they tell their story, "You're gonna have to try a little bit harder. If you want me to think you're crazy, you're gonna have to try a lot harder than that."
Heard it all.
Right, exactly. It's just all energy. And there are even sections in the Bible, if you read them, like the descriptions of these divine beings, they sound like extraterrestrial. You know?
Yeah.
They really do. And I always say, use discernment. Just because you have a different belief system doesn't mean that you're wrong. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, "No, I have never lived another life on another planet." That's fine. We're not here to change your belief system. We're here to answer questions and give our experiences, and always use your discernment. But also, I want to mention that Christy does have some fabulous books talking about this subject, her experience with contact, like astral travel. I know that that's mentioned in some of the books, and just contact with other beings. And so those are on Amazon if you are interested in those. You have what, 4 or 5 out?
5 books out, and number 6 will be out next month.
So go to Amazon, Christy Peterson, and you can find those there. Oh, good, Michelle. Yeah, very good writer. They're easy to read. So lots of information out there that Christy has, given us. It's a blessing to us. So go check those out.
Thank you.
Now, of course. So now, whenever someone is on this journey and we're having this planet experience, like right now on planet, it is a little bit crazy. We're having, a lot of energies. If you are watching this live, you're probably a very empathic person. You're probably reading energies around you without even knowing that you are. So, what would be your suggestion, Christy, for people to stay sane during these crazy times we're having?
First of all, realize none of it's real. It's all made up for our entertainment, which whew, I have a hard time believing that. And I said to myself the other day, I was journaling, and I said, if I create my own reality, what kind of pervert am I?
I have actually thought that. It's like, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think to keep yourself sane, and a lot of people that come to me, it's like, I'm depressed, I'm heavy with what's going on in the world. And I said, well, to me, the fact that you're here tells me that you're a sane person living in an insane world. And you need to recognize that. If you are upset by all of this, chances are you're probably pretty sane. If you're seeing some of the delight, the joy of what's going on, you fit right in with what's going on.
Right.
But if you see the absurdity, the depravity of everything that's going on, that tells me that you are probably sane. And we are living in insane times right now. And you need to go back to, how was I programmed to
Yes.
pick this? That's a question I've asked myself a lot. It's like, why did I choose this time to be on this planet? Because wow, it's a lot. And I've gotten some great answers, which I won't go into today, but you can ask yourself the same question. Go to your guides, go to your angels, go to God's source, and just say, why did I pick this time to be here? Because there's a lesson in here for all of us of why you did pick this time.
I agree, but I think that we should go into that a little bit, Christy. So what are did you not want to take up the time, or did you not want to talk about it?
Oh,
Like,
I didn't want to take up the time.
I think that people would be interested in us discussing that for a little while. Like, why? Because I've gotten some great answers. I think let's go into it.
Well, I have supposedly, according to my guides, that I have a history of many, many past lives where I was an orator, a healer in different capacities, and people weren't ready to hear it. And
Mhm.
so I was tortured, I was killed, I was disregarded, um, all of those things. And they said, this time I can handle it and I will be heard, I will be listened to. And it's a challenge I've decided to take on to really be a way shower. And that is, hold up a beacon of light because there are so many people that are scrambling around saying, this isn't right. I don't like this. I'm depressed. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And I, among many of other healers, it's not just me, we're able to be a way shower and say, I can show you how to get to the light. Follow me. And do
Absolutely.
that by, yes, sane language, sane thinking in this crazy,
And
crazy.
I would suggest people limiting their exposure to the negativity.
Mhm.
Like, I know I was just talking to someone the other day, and she's like, "I can't get." Well, you have to turn the news off. You have to get away from that energy. You can't be in that energy all the time.
Yeah.
And we have such access to it right now. So I would suggest people really getting away from that energy, limiting your exposure,
Mhm.
and pay attention to what you consume.
Yeah.
And, where it comes to what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Yes, be informed, but no, don't make it your world. It will really start changing. If you listen to it enough, you can actually have your trauma from it because your brain will start not understanding the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And another thing is stay connected to nature. Like
Mhm.
Kristen was talking and when we were talking earlier about everything, the trees, the rocks, the ground, everything is a manifestation of the divine God, which is love.
Mhm.
Nature does not have that, doesn't turn their free will into like we do the evil things. So nature can really be your grounding source and can really pull you back to who you are at your core.
Yeah.
Also, I would like everyone to remember Christy said, way shower, showing the light. And she says, I'm not the only one. Right. If you're listening to this, you're probably a way shower.
Mhm. Yes.
And if you are a way shower, you are going to be troubled by what's going on in the world. So instead of feeding into it, make sure you are looking to the divine, you're grounding yourself, you're keeping your energy centered on who you are at your core so that when people see you, they don't feel they know that there's other people out there like that. I think that the Christies of the world. I can say that because we're both Christy and people like us. And it's not just us because Christy and this Christy, we could not carry the light by ourselves, right?
No, there's got to be millions of us.
Millions,
Mhm.
right? And our job is to shine our light so that other people can see it when they're feeling lost
Mhm.
and they can see the light or feel the light and be like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Let me head in that direction. So just know that as you are speaking kindness into other people's lives, that you're sitting with who you are, that you're sitting in meditation, you're making a difference. I'm just reading, someone just posted
Me
something.
too.
My vibration has allowed me to see all kinds of beings. Is there a warning system with these episodes? Sometimes they startle me. Is there a way? Um,
Yeah. Hi, Carrie. Um, I hesitate to call it a warning system, but you have to trust your gut, your intuition, because I get startled all the time. Somebody pops through, but I instantly will know whether they're there for my highest good or not. And if they're not, it's like, no, you need to turn around and go. And
mhm.
that happens so rarely right now. So what I would suggest for anybody, if you're seeing things, hearing things, experiencing other spirits, other entities, go right to your gut. Does this feel good for the highest good of me and the planet? It's not, doesn't have to be just you,
Right.
for me and the planet. And there's a preface that I set in my meditation that only spirits that are here for my and the planet's best and highest good are allowed to have any kind of input with me.
I was just going to say that same thing, except I say, and she said best and highest. I say highest and best. But I say that before I go to any meditation, and I say that only those, the highest and best, will be able to come through in my readings. And so I never have those beings. Now, sometimes I have, because I just taught an angel class, and when angels come through, they come through in the way that you're going to see them, that you're going to understand them.
Mhm.
Because on the other side, we're all light beings. But as you start getting used to angels or other beings, they might morph and present to you more of what they're really like. So that can be startling sometimes if you are just not used to seeing that kind of being.
Yeah.
So make sure that when you're like Christy said, you're sitting with, okay, that startled me. Let me drop into my body. Is it okay? Like, am I just startled because I haven't seen this kind of being before, or is it actually not good for me? But I would suggest just starting your day in meditations with only the highest and best, or best and highest, come through. Oh, what can we do? Daily protection. God, yes, 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 absolutely.
And I think a good gauge also is there's only really two emotions, and that's love and fear. And so startling doesn't have to be fear. It's just you being on alert. But that's with anything in life. You tune into it. Is this for my or the planet's best and highest good, or highest and best good? Or is there something that doesn't feel right in my solar plexus, right here in my gut? And that's with anything, and that's with any being that shows up. But I'm telling you, if you start your day, and I would like to clarify a little bit with morning meditation, people, I can't meditate. No, I've tried, I can't. Well, you can, because it can be as simple as 30 seconds.
Yeah,
When you wake up and you set the tone, and it's like, I'm connecting to my team, my guides, my angels, and only messages for my best and highest good, well, for me and the planet, are allowed to have any input. You set the tone for the day.
absolutely. I love that Christy brought that up. There are walking meditations. There was a study, I think it was out of Stanford, that 30 seconds to a minute of meditation done a couple of times a day will actually start changing the structure of your brain and how your neurons fire. It
Mhm.
makes a difference if you think that you can't sit there for however long. And also, people think that meditation is, oh, I can't do that. There's walking meditations. There are 30 seconds just setting the tone. Prayer can be a meditation. I always am listening to some kind of megahertz when I meditate. In the beginning, like way back when I was first learning, guided meditations helped me. So just find something that works for you. Walking in the woods can be a meditation. So just find something that eases your soul and go with it. But yes, especially what Christy said, set your day, set the tone for your day. And sometimes if you work out in the public, if you have contact with other humans, you might have to set the tone for your day a couple of times, and that's okay. You may have to remind, and when you set the tone again, it's not necessarily for the people in spirit, it's for yourself.
Before I go into any grocery store,
Right. Help me. Mine is
oh,
usually, exactly, mine is usually driving.
oh,
I had to run and do an appointment I had a doctor's appointment this morning, and I'm leaving, and I had a right arrow. I I watched it turn right, but I'm not someone like when an arrow turns. I live in a like where you come out of my neighborhood, people run red lights all the time. I don't know if you've noticed that. Omaha's kind of got that going on. People running red lights. So when that turns green, I don't go right away. I look. Is anyone coming? And then I go.
mhm.
So I had the turn right, arrow. It was a green arrow turning right. And I waited for a moment. And in that moment, someone behind me honked. I was like, now we're just going to have to sit here all day. I didn't. I tried to channel my divine within. But I have a lot of people, and I don't know if Christy gets this, but because we are, Christy and I know she does work on channeling divine love a lot. Like we work hard on that. We sit in meditation a lot. We work on our spirituality and showing up as a light, as a way shower. But just because we work on it doesn't mean we get it perfect. So I want everyone to give themselves grace. If they have moments of, oh my gosh, I just can't do this. I'm not a way shower. I can't be a light because I had this thought. No, you just recenter yourself.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace. None of us are perfect at this walk on this planet. It's annoying here.
Well, it is, and I've got a very ill-spent youth. And so where, whew, there's a history there for sure. And, if I let that kind of shroud who I am today, I would not get anything done. And I wouldn't be of service to anything. I'm
Right.
looking at it, I learned my lessons. I experienced some things that were not healthy for me, but it got me to where I am today. And so I can be a way shower.
Absolutely. And, I always want people to look at, like this morning, I caught myself immediately. Like the thought wasn't even complete and I caught myself. Whereas 10 years ago, I'd have been all kinds of annoyed all day long. So you have to give yourself grace of how far you've come.
Mhm.
You're not going to completely get rid of some of those thoughts, but you are going to catch yourself. You're going to understand. And then you laugh at yourself. And also, instead of judging myself, I kind of laughed at myself like, Christy, come on now. Get over yourself. So I want everyone watching to give themselves grace that, none of us are going to be perfect on this walk on this planet. So give yourself grace. This is a good one. Christy, this next one. Where do souls go when they die? Do they go to heaven?
In my experience, every soul goes to heaven. So it's not, if you do that, you're going to hell, in the worst of the worst. We don't know why the worst of the worst are here. Is it for us to learn a lesson? Is it for them to have an experience in the evolution of their soul? We can't judge why this is happening. We can only have control over how we react to things. So every soul goes to heaven. Any soul spirit that has come to me through a meditation or through a medium reading, they're in heaven. I will say that there are levels of heaven.
I agree.
So I will say Jesus is probably not hanging out with Hitler, if you know what I mean. Because we are all, it's like a third grader associating with a sixth grader. We're all in different levels of the evolution of our soul. So even though we all go to heaven, we all go to school, we're going to be in different grade levels of that. And it's not for punishment, the lower levels, as we'll call them. It's just to learn the lessons that we need to learn to help us in the evolution of our soul.
I agree 1,000%. I've never gone to heaven, spirit world, looking for someone that I didn't find. And like I said, that's why Jesus didn't give me that book, because I have found people over there that I've been like, why we let him in? And, do they feel like they come from different vibrational levels? Yes, some of them do. And I've brought through, like I said, people that we do not think would be there. I had gone to locally, I'm sure y'all love my little stories, had gone locally to a chiropractor, and I was wearing a shirt with wings. The lady checking me out complimented me. I said, "Oh, thank you. I got it at Lilydale." If y'all don't know what Lilydale is, it's a community, a spiritual mediumship community out in Lilydale, New York. Shouldn't know where that was, so I said that. Oh Lord. She's like, and you're wearing an angel shirt? Again, people thinking because we're psychic mediums, we don't believe in angels. Yes, I am. And so I was just like, please take my card and let me pay and get out of here, because I can tell this conversation is not going to a good place. And she started telling me about her brother-in-law, who she was quite certain had gone to hell because he had not accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. And I'm not saying anything, people. And I'm just like, take my card. She's moving really slow. And so finally she asks me, she said, well, how do you think people go to heaven? They die. That's And then she is like her face contorted, and she's swiping my card, and she's proceeding to tell me that I'm wrong. That's not how you go to heaven. And yeah, that's how you go, is you die.
That's a great answer.
I was afraid it was coming, and maybe and I sat with that in the car because I talk to people a lot about, it's not sometimes what we say, it's the energy behind it.
Mhm.
And so I did sit with my answer as I'm sitting in the parking lot. I was like, okay, Christy, did you say that to be loving and informative, or were you saying it to be snarky? Right? Because exactly. And again, I want everyone to give themselves grace because I think it was a little bit of both, if I'm honest with myself. Right? And so I kind of chuckled at myself and I let it go. It's like, okay, Christy, next time it's not the words you said that were incorrect. You need to make sure that you're completely covering those words with a love vibration before they come out of your mouth. But some people give me grace. I'm just being real here. Now, how can I better connect with? I get this. I was just talking to someone again this morning on this. They're talking about their spirit guides and how to connect with them. And this person said, they'd seen me speak on this subject. They said, I didn't even realize I had a team until you mentioned it. We all have a team on the other side. Let's answer this question real quick. Do you both feel like your abilities are getting stronger during this time, like you're leveling up? If so, what new things have you experienced?
Mm. Yeah, I definitely, not only I can't speak for you, but I'm definitely leveling up, but so are a lot of people because we we're showing the light, we're learning, we're growing, we're experiencing, we're practicing. And that alone helps you level up. Physically, some of the experiences that you might be having would be like minor bouts of vertigo,
Yeah.
a little bit of dizziness, um, short-term memory loss. It's one thing, some aches in your joints, just feeling a little out of it, being spacey. I have a lot of clients. One showed up a day early for a session. I've had other people show up early and what? I'm late. I'm early. Huh? And it's that disorientation. And that's what's happening when you are leveling up. The way it shows up in my work, instead of having to maybe focus more to connect with somebody, a spirit, it comes so much easier now. And it's while someone is asking me a question, boom, the answer is downloaded to me. So it just gets easier and easier as how it shows up in my work. Physically, there certainly are some physical manifestations that are not always comfortable. So what I will do, especially with little bits of vertigo, I'll talk to my guides and I'll say, I'm ready to level up. And I agree with all of this, but I also need to be safe. I can't trip and fall. So you need to back off just a little bit on this. And boom, immediately they back off and I've got my footing again.
Yes, and especially if you've tried the grounding, you touch the ground, you've done all the tricks that you know to ground, and you're still feeling a little bit of that vertigo. And sometimes it will be going on for a few days before I catch on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's funny what Christy said because I had sat down, I had taken a couple of days off. My mom had passed, and I'd taken a couple of days off. And I sat down, and the first reading I did after that, I was actually a little bit worried because usually when I read, I can feel the connection. Like I turn to spirit and I can feel it's like a lock in. I didn't feel that. But my information that was coming through was ridiculously accurate. And so it was like Christy just said, like her connection has become instantaneous. And so when I turn, it's like there's no lock in, it's just there.
Yeah.
But also, like she said, we're not the only ones. There's lots of people leveling up.
Yeah.
And when you're leveling up, you can, I want everyone to ensure that they are still rowing the boat to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And have that level up, like lock into their system, because you can back off. Mm-hmm. And so I wouldn't say that. I would just like to see everyone row the boat and continue with their leveling up. You don't have to. There's free will. I would just like that for you if everyone continue down that path. But just know that, there are things you can do to make sure that you are continuing on that path, which is, prayer, meditation, and make sure that you are having communication with what we're about to talk to, your guides and the divine, that you're wanting it to happen. Mm-hmm. But yes, like Christy said, if you feel like it's coming too fast, you can tell them to back off a little bit.
Yeah. And when you do talk to your guides, that a lot of people can't tell the difference, and that's why they think they're making it up. They can't tell the difference between their thoughts and spirit's thoughts of what's coming through. And your thoughts are usually the loud, obnoxious ones in my case. You're stupid. You're an idiot. Oh my God. And I have to learn how to tune that down, because when you talk to your guides, it's always gentle, it's neutral, it's positive or neutral, it's nothing ever negative. And I would say it's as soft as a feather falling through air. So you're not making it up, it's paying attention to it and trusting that it's there. So it's, how do I connect to my guides? Listen. And when you ask them a question, not only are you asking a question, I tell my people, I said, you're giving spirit a permission slip that you're ready and you want more. And that also is what helps increase and make things more frequent and a little bit louder.
Absolutely. And you know what Christy just said, spirits, I laugh, but it's serious. They're not going to send you an email. They're not going to send you a sticky note, even though we would like the information to come through that hardcore. We would like it to come through in a planetary version that we're used to seeing. But our guides exist on a different energetic vibration. So they're going to get to us how they can, which is through our clairs, like dropping in, you know, ideas. Also, they're going to use other people.
Mhm.
You're going to be thinking about something, and then all of a sudden you'll have a friend talking about it, or you'll see a book on the subject, or you'll pop on Facebook and see an advertisement about what you were just thinking about. So Spirit's going to use all kinds of ways to get to you. It's up to us to really look at the synchronicities and recognize them. And I agree 1,000% with Christy that Spirit is never going to tell you to hurt yourself or someone else, either physically or verbally.
Right.
Anytime you're looking in the mirror and being critical, or like I said, when I was thinking that not kind thought when someone was honking at me because I hadn't turned right fast enough, I was like, never have to sit here all day. Totally me. That was me. And not only was it me, it was the ego me. Spirit is soft. Hello, thank you for joining us, Marcy. Spirit is soft and kind and loving. And if you can catch it before we have filtered the information coming from spirit, you can start recognizing how it actually feels, like the difference in the vibrations between us and what's coming from the other side.
Here's another example. About 30 years ago, I was engaged to a gentleman who passed. And on the way to his funeral, I just said, I need to know you're okay. And I got a sensation to turn on the radio. And I turned it on, and it was the song God is Watching You, that Bette Midler song, From a Distance.
Yes.
And I just said, thank you. Thank you. And I knew he was okay. And so they will speak to you through music as well. And you get that, you turn on a song and the message is there for you.
I've also noticed that spirits will speak to you a lot through what either you love or they loved. Like if someone loved music or if you love music, they're going to really speak to you through music. Mm-hmm. If you're someone who's an intellectual and you read a lot, then they're going to, drop books into your awareness. Yeah. If you're someone who watches the birds, they're going to use birds to get to you. So keep an eye out for, the things that your loved one loved or that you did. And I love he was so specific on that song and getting that to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was right on. Can I go off a little bit?
Absolutely, please do.
Yeah, this is the coolest story about him. And it was probably maybe 2 weeks after he passed. I woke up in the morning and I looked and my alarm clock hadn't gone off. And I was still in the corporate world at that time, at 30 years ago. And I was like, oh my God. And I jumped out, went into the shower. And the minute the water hit my head, I had a flashback of what had happened during the night and why that alarm didn't go off. My ex-fiance, late fiance, he came and took me to the other side. And we were sitting on a riverbed and we were talking about spirituality and religion. And this is where we were diametrically opposed in human form, but we were agreeing 100%. in spirit form. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing over here? And he goes, well, I'm going to school. I said, really? What are you studying? And I can't remember exactly what it was, but he always wanted to study criminal justice when he was here. So I know it was something related to that. And I said, well, where do you go to school? And he pointed, and I looked, and it was like this little house covered in twinkle lights, or outlined in twinkle lights, only the house wasn't there. It was just the twinkle lights. He said, that's where I go to school. And then I saw shooting stars going into this house. And I said, what's that? And he goes, oh, those are the other souls taking the class with me. I mean, it was just so fascinating. And I asked him a few questions, and he goes, well, he goes, let me go talk to somebody. And then he came back and goes, well, the only way I can tell you or answer your questions is if we erase your memory afterwards. And I said, that's fine. And so they did that. And I just remember being just astounded by all of this information that he was giving me. And I couldn't tell you anything about it now because they did erase my memory on that part of it. But I will never, ever forget that he was kind enough to take me to the other side and show me that particular piece of his heaven and what it was like and what he was doing. And he was doing kind of exactly what he wanted to do when he was in human form, and never took the chance or took the opportunity to do it.
So I want to know who else watching got complete body chills as Christy was talking. Like, I love that when people tell stories that, spirit will use chills to be like, yes, yes. So you can bet that her late fiance is here with us today, giving us those chills. All right, so someone put okay, my daughter is struggling. Do you have any suggestions on how to get rid of negative self-talk spirits? Besides, I believe she had a Kundalini awakening during extreme trauma, and she is now in a bad way. I'm learning Reiki now to help her, as she doesn't want my help. I sometimes play my crystal singing bowls and other things to help her, but I'm having a hard time getting her to do anything but watch TV, which is horrible for her. We did kind of talk about that. Without sitting down and really talking to your daughter one-on-one, it's hard to how much of this is spiritual, how much of this is like I always tell people, if they have someone who is struggling, have they gone and made sure that there is no like a chemical imbalance, right? Mm-hmm. Also, first and foremost, you want to make sure that she's safe. You want to make sure there's no chemical imbalance. There's no medical intervention that needs to be done. Also, I would definitely take her to, if that has been done and you feel that she is safe, like physically safe, take her to someone who is experienced in dealing with spirituality, that are healers, that, I work a lot with people, and I know Christy does also, on doing a full encompassing healing. And, it's hard without tapping into your daughter and actually starting the healing. It's, would a past life regression help? A healing. I do a lot of mentorship where people, not only are we healing them, but we're also talking to them about how to take control of their own thoughts. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're just now learning Reiki, also if your mom, I'm sorry, Mom, we don't know anything. And I don't mean that you literally don't know anything, but to our children, sometimes moms don't know anything. Even with my own kids, sometimes, they, as much as I teach this, they just don't want to hear it from me. They want to hear it from someone else. So I would definitely, bring someone else in that can help her, just because of the fact kids, they don't always want to listen to their parents.
So, Michelle, you said that you've told her about me, but she doesn't want to hear anything. She has to be ready on some level. But what I'm picking up is that she's just so scared of that there's something wrong with her. And there really isn't. She just needs to integrate, to assimilate things. And I do it in a really kind, gentle way. So if she is open, and even through a Zoom session, she might feel a little bit more safe with it. But I agree with Christy, and I work especially with the aliens and other entities. Aliens, that's my strong point. I deal with that because of my own lifetime experience, many lifetimes of experiences with them. And it's learning how to work with them in a way that benefits you rather than having them scare you. So yeah, I would love to work with your daughter, but she does have to be open and willing.
They do have to be ready. It's I'm mentoring someone now who is younger, and her mom had been trying to get her to work with me for a couple of years. And I just kept telling her mom, I could tell just from she's not ready. She's not ready. So now she's ready. we are. So yes, what Chrissy says, I do have to be ready. You're
Yeah.
like stuff and can't get. Yes, she's so scared. It's funny because she sounds a lot like this other person that I'm working with. Is that she's scared to leave the house? This person does have that, and a lot of times when you have lived many lives on other planets as other beings, and now you're coming to the earth and you're new, like you might not be new to the earth, but you haven't lived any recent lives on earth. It can be a little bit, you're not used to being here. It feels like a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We are here at the end. Do you have any last words for anyone, Christy? I think I'm just giving her.
Again, the only thing I want to take it a little bit bigger, and I don't know, Michelle, if this would help your daughter or not, but it's what I'm being told to say to everybody. When we all have got a team that they work intimately with us, and that's our spirit guides, our angels, our council of elders, our deceased loved ones. I channel an extraterrestrial who actually is a spirit guide of our planet. And I didn't even know our planet had spirit guides. But there are entities that you can tap into as well to help the entire planet. Because I feel like there's somebody listening today that they want to know what they can do to help the planet, that you can tap in, because the one I channel is not the only one. Again, there are millions of them that are guides of our planet. So this is for somebody that's maybe hasn't commented today, but they are listening, and to tap into them, and they are going to be a little bit more explicit with you on what your little piece of helping the planet, what you can do.
Yes, thank you, Christy. Everyone watching this planet is a powerful spirit in their own right. Mm-hmm. And, it's imposter syndrome when you think, like Christy's talking about, the person that Christy channels is Ramadir, but you can tap into her person, or you can tap into someone else. And you don't have this you are powerful and you have the ability. You are just as worthy of tapping into angel energy, the Jesus energy, as anyone else. So just know that you are capable and you are a powerful spirit in your own right. Everyone watching or listening to this.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you for your questions. Again, Christy has some great books out on Amazon. Just go there and search her name. She has books where Ramadir has come through, where she talks about as being a young person and having encounters with extraterrestrials. Go look that up. Lots of information out there. And we will be live again on the second Tuesday of every month. If you want to, you can send us questions. You can go, Christy, you can go to my website, Christy Godwin Psychic Medium, and message me through there. Same for Christy. You can go to her website, ChristyPeterson, is it .com?
Either Christy Peterson or Christy Peterson Psychic Medium, either page.
There you go.
You want to talk about your book?
Yes, actually, I am in the process of writing a new book.
Yay!
I just noticed that I started the year teaching on sovereignty, and that has come into my awareness so many times. So it's really on sovereignty and the creatrix archetype, where we can take our own power and create the reality that we want.
Love it. I can't wait to read it.
Right. Yes, I'm 3 chapters in, and I have outlined it to be about 10. So I have a little ways to go. Thank y'all for being here today.
Thank you all.